What do you mean? That it never had to be this hard for us? Like, what do you mean in other countries they don't have to spend 20% of their paycheck on groceries? What do you mean in other countries everyone can own homes because they're not paying $2,000 a month in rent, or that their mortgages aren't like their entire paycheck?
Because that's by design. These are all manufactured problems. Y'all had to get on an app made by the Chinese to learn that. But when black people were trying to tell y'all this...
Dry up them fucking crocodile tears, Sarah. I don't care. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because black people have been telling y'all for fucking decades. We have been protesting. We have been doing everything for all these fucking decades. And y'all have sat back and reaped the rewards thinking y'all was a part of the club because y'all was white.
And I started to empathize with her, but then in the back of my mind, I thought, girl, this isn't new. Why is this new to you? And then I realized for quite some time, a lot of white people in this country, the issues that black people had, they thought they were just black people issues.
Hey everyone, it's my hope that you're all doing well wherever you are. I came across a video of a white woman who was crying in TikTok, complaining how life is hard in United States. She compares life in United States with other countries like China. She says that life in China is easily affordable compared to United States. Black people came out and responded to her, telling her that she should dry up those crocodile tears. Black people says that it is all about white people. It is white people's fault. And they are saying that while the black people try to tell white people all about this issue, they didn't even listen to them. And now they are here, crying and complaining how life in United States is hard. Black people says that those are crocodile tears. I want us to watch this video together and I will be right back.
Please stay for this, because I've reached the part in this whole class consciousness part where I'm just filled with the most impotent rage, and I'm talking that white hot, I need to sink my teeth into something and scream kind of rage. Because what do you mean that it never had to be this hard for us? What do you mean in other countries they don't have to spend 20% of their paycheck on groceries? What do you mean in other countries everyone can own homes because they're not paying $2,000 a month in rent, or that their mortgages aren't their entire paycheck? What do you mean that people in China work one job and they don't even work 40 hours and they can easily afford their life? And then I'm over here working 60 hours a week, just me as a single parent, to barely make ends meet, and I'm penny pinching every single second, and there's so much of life that my kid misses out on and that I miss out on because of money and work and no social support net. And you mean to tell me that it didn't have to be like this? They keep us in these chains on purpose, and it never had to be like this. I did everything right. I went to college. I had to drop out of college to take care of my mom when she was sick because, again, no social services, no safety nets. My dad worked his whole life and died and left everything to my mom. My mom was disabled, and she lived on credit, and she barely made ends meet, and she did everything she was supposed to. And I did everything I was supposed to, and it just keeps getting worse. It was never supposed to be like this. And I'm so angry that it is. Because what do you mean? I've spent so much of my life working so hard to scrape by, and it never had to be like that. My suffering was at the expense of someone else becoming wealthy because they could. And I am so angry about this. It can't stay like this. It doesn't have to stay like this.
All the white people going on Xiaohongshu, and they're like, oh my God, China, they have everything. Their food is cheap. They have good schools, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we have that? Racism. It's because of racism, babe. Yeah. And post-Reconstruction era South, after those traitors lost the Civil War, the South was devastated. This is just an example. The South was devastated, like in every way you could think of. The Northern troops had burned their farmland. They had blown up railroad tracks so you couldn't transport anything. They liberated all the enslaved people. They had burned their houses to the ground, okay? The South was... it was so bad. Northern newspapers were sending down photographers to take photos, to take photographs, and they were going back up north, and the editors and photographers were selling little books to other Northerners, like poverty corn. That's how bad the South was after the Reconstruction era, after the Civil War or the Reconstruction era. Do you know what white Southerners' primary concern was? Not housing and feeding and clothing their families, not trying to rebuild their economy. No. It was making sure they inflicted massive physical, mental, and economic terror on formerly enslaved people in the South. That was their modus. That was their modus operandi. That was very important to them. More important than rebuilding their economy was harassing black people. And that's just an example of the centuries white people have spent cutting off their own toes just so we don't have anything. But the gag is, now you don't have anything either. We don't have anything, but neither do you. And that's why we don't have nice things. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
The amount of white people, since we've all gone to Red Note and have made Chinese friends, the amount of white people who are coming back to this app and saying that we're being scammed and, oh my goodness, that we shouldn't be living like this in America. Oh my God. You had to get on a Chinese app to learn that life isn't meant to be hard. And the way that we live life in these United States is difficult as hell because that's by design. These are all manufactured problems. Y'all had to get on an app made by the Chinese to learn that. But when black people were trying to tell y'all this...
Like, what do you mean in other countries they don't have to spend 20% of their paycheck on groceries? What do you mean in other countries everyone can own homes because they're not paying $2,000 a month in rent, or that their mortgages aren't like their entire paycheck? What do you mean that people in China work one job and they don't even work 40 hours and they can easily afford their life? And then I'm over here working 60 hours a week, just me as a single parent, to like barely make ends meet, and I'm penny pinching every single second, and like there's so much of life that my kid misses out on and that I miss out on.
I'm just cut it off right there. Dry up them fucking crocodile tears, Sarah. I don't care. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because this is white people's fault. This is white people's fault. And now y'all want to boo-hoo and cry because y'all done got on that Chinese app and they done put the Uno reverse card on y'all ass and held up that mirror and told y'all, no, y'all are the brokies. Not us. We not the brokies. It's y'all. And y'all got to face the cold, hard reality that y'all have made this bed and now y'all got to sit in it. No, take accountability. Don't sit here and boo-hoo and cry and get on the TikTok and talk in the internet talking about what are we going to do? What are we going to do? No, what are y'all going to do? Because black people have been telling y'all for fucking decades. We have been protesting. We have been doing everything for all these fucking decades. And y'all have sat back and reaped the rewards thinking y'all was a part of the club because y'all was white. Y'all thought this shit was about race. No, it's always been about class. And y'all were never a part of the club. Y'all make up 60% of this country's population. There's no we. It's y'all. Every minority could vote or go against something or go for something that we know is good for the people. And y'all would turn it down because y'all have the overwhelming majority. So it's no we, it's y'all. Fix y'all shit. I know y'all don't like to take accountability for nothing, but now it's time. Y'all over there boohooing crying because y'all seeing the Chinese Walmart and they over there paying $3 for a whole goddamn bag of groceries. Meanwhile, you got to pay $200 and barely fill up your grocery cart. See, all those things you're boohooing and crying about, FDR made that happen. But then it all went away in 1967. Why did I say 1967? What does that correlate to? Oh, the Civil Rights Act was passed. Integration happened. And then white people stripped away or voted against themselves to strip away all public services and entities and all those great things that y'all had prior to integration because y'all didn't want black people to have the shit. So y'all gave all that up in the 1980s when Reagan created trickle-down economics because y'all didn't want us to have. He gave us crack and trickle-down economics. And y'all was cool with that. Y'all made a deal with the devil and now y'all got to accept the consequences of y'all fucking actions. Y'all had affordable housing. Y'all didn't have fucking credit scores. Y'all didn't have you could send your kids to college for the free or for the low. We had advanced and effective public transit and services in this country. But y'all gave all of it away because y'all didn't want niggas to have access. Y'all fought so hard with things like redlining and all these different things to hold black people back to keep us from getting a piece of the pie. Whole time they taking y'all pie. And now y'all got to face the music. And now you want to boo-hoo. Y'all let them pass the Patriot Act in the act of protecting us from terrorists. Use that Islamophobia against y'all dumbass. Y'all let them further push the Patriot Act in 2019 because of that the immigration that y'all was so afraid of, all the immigrants, right? Just taking away all y'all fucking right. Now y'all want to point and what are we gonna do? No, what are y'all gonna do? Because when black people out here marching for police brutality, who they just do things to us and write a fake ass police report and get away with it and nothing happens? You think or when we did ride when things like Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin happened, and the original Black Lives Matter activists, the original movement that got hijacked, you know what I'm saying? The original activists that was out there on the ground got took out by the police. Oh no, y'all ain't say nothing then. When we telling y'all that they're interfering in our freedoms and our rights, but no, it's black people, so we ain't worried. It's not us, it's them. Well, I'm not. I shouldn't have to pay for the sins of my fathers. I didn't own any slaves. I'm not racist. Yes, but you're compliant to the system and you're complacent and you're okay with the system that gave you an edge up against us. Go back to R. Kelly or the things that was going on at Nickelodeon or with Harvey Weinstein, all that weird shit, right? There were people still giving up their kids to that, making deals, still going up there knowing everything that was going on, putting their children, putting their livelihoods, cameramen, people going to get opportunities and jobs. They did not care so long as it wasn't them. And that was y'all this entire time up until now. Go back and look at the prequel to The Purges. Where did they start? How did they get people to approve some shit like The Purge? They started in the hood. They started with black people. They started with the disenfranchised. So when y'all turn a blind eye and y'all let that shit go on with black people and we getting our ass whipped by police and we getting our rights taken away and we getting profiled and we getting this, and they're slowly implementing that shit and they were slowly draining that shit from y'all. It look like, come on, bruh. You would have thought y'all would have woke up when that shit happened in North Carolina and that hurricane went up there and fucked them up. But no, what did they turn into? Oh, well, it's Biden. Whole time North Carolina is a red fucking state. Oh, like your local governments fucking failed y'all. So no, there's no, what are we gonna do? No, it's what y'all gonna do. Grab y'all fucking nuts and go do something. Because we, black people, we tired of being y'all fucking crash dummies and going out there and then they give y'all a little piece of the pie and then y'all go back and y'all let us out there to fucking drown. No, y'all go do something.
Oh, and never forget, we could have had Bernie, but y'all said he was a socialist.
So I just saw a post where a young white woman is upset and crying because she's understanding how easy they have it in China, and she doesn't understand why, as Americans, we have to work so hard just to have so little.
Racism would be the answer. So this all goes back to what they call drained pool politics. Once integration became the law of the land with cases like Brown v. Board, a lot of white people moved to get rid of public services and goods like swimming pools. And that meant they had fewer resources. They had fewer third places. And it was fine back in the day because they would just pay. They would pay to go to country clubs, which is why there's a proliferation of country clubs in this country right now. But they put all those kinds of things that used to be public services behind a paywall because then they could just say, well, you can't pay, or this is a private club. It doesn't matter if you can pay. We're not going to allow you in. It's our choice. It's not a public service. It's not a government-run thing. Just so Black people wouldn't have access. But over time, the cost of these services rose higher and higher until most white people cannot afford them. But it's not just that. I mean, this idea goes all the way back to things like Social Security. Do you know white people refused to vote it through back during the New Deal until two groups of people were not eligible? Domestic labor, so that would be like maids, and agriculture workers who didn't own the land. So in other words, if you were a sharecropper, like most Black people in the South, or a maid, like the women, you couldn't get Social Security. Once they put those provisions in, all of a sudden, they could have it all day long. White people in this country have always been obsessed with the idea of Black people not having things. And that's why they're in the mess that they're in. It's kind of nice to be able to say what I want on here. The reason why countries, the Scandinavian ones, Denmark and Sweden and whatnot, have such great policies is in part because those countries are homogenous, or mostly so. And they're not trying to investigate who's benefiting from the free child care and the universal health care and all that. They are moving on. We could have a great standard of living in this country, but white people are so obsessed, so angry at the idea other people who are not white are going to have that same great standard of living. They would rather live in squalor. It's why the Affordable Health Care Act got gutted. The utter terror that people who don't look like you are going to be able to live decently. What you pay for. I mean, politicians have tried to convince white voters for years. This is in their interest. It was in their interest to not have to pay for these goods and services. And now you fell for it. They convinced you it was communist or socialist to have a decent standard of living, to have the taxes that you pay go to something other than endless war, to actually go towards the maintenance of the nation and making our lives better. But, I hope you enjoy it. Rather than letting everybody have a turn with the ball, you've decided to pop the ball and you're complaining, there's no ball, there's no ball. Indeed, there's not. And if we got a ball tomorrow and you saw the Black people and others playing with it, you'd probably pop it again. So there's a direct correlation. It's not that Black problems are just starting to suddenly leak over and affect white people. It's that the intentional negative economic and social policies white people put in place to oppress Black people have now rebounded on them. Everything people complain about nowadays. How come there are no more third spaces? How come we don't have anywhere to go but work and school? How come we can't afford property? How come this and how come that? All of those have a direct correlation to post-integration policies and choices. Why is college so expensive? Racism. Black people started going and they raised the tuition out of all scope. It used to be practically free to go to school. How come I can't find a decent job? Racism. The minute Black people integrated those unions for the factories that have been operating in this nation for decades, and Black people could only be non-unionized workers or just unskilled labor, the minute we finally broke into the unions, that is when they began migrating out of cities like Detroit, first into the South for white cities, and then eventually overseas. You thought you were winning. And the hollowing out of Chicago and Detroit and etc. don't just affect Black people. The reverberations of that crisis have affected the entire Midwest, and look at the condition of the Rust Belt today. The hole you dig for somebody else will be the one you fall in. That's literally biblical. If people had focused on trying to get the whole standard of living for the country up, even if they had just focused on their own ends, but not tried to punish anyone else, this whole country would be in a better position today. And now look, I hope this serves as a valuable lesson to you. It probably won't. Because that's why the last election went the way it went. They are still trying to convince you somebody else is to blame for the problems that are self-engineered. And they try to convince you that by punishing someone else, the mysterious boogeyman stole your cheese. And if you beat him up, if you cut his wages, if you deport him, you'll get your cheese back. It's not true. This learning curve is getting steeper and steeper, though. I am genuinely interested to see what happens on Red Note next. I think this will be the first time a lot of Americans have unfettered, unpropagandized access to so many citizens from a nation we've been taught is bad, that inherently they're doing things wrong and that they're oppressed and we need to help them and save them. This will be the first time a lot of Americans have that much direct contact. And the puzzle pieces are starting to click into place. You know, this might be the making of something. We will see. That's it. Like and follow for more. As long as you can. I hope it's longer than we think.
So I just saw a post where a young white woman is upset and crying because she's understanding how easy they have it in China. And she doesn't understand why, as Americans, we have to work so hard just to have so little. She doesn't understand why we're spending 20% of our income on groceries. And she goes on to list a lot of problems. And she's like, it didn't need to be this hard. What do you mean we didn't have to do it like this? And I started to empathize with her, but then in the back of my mind, I thought, girl, this isn't new. Why is this new to you? And then I realized for quite some time, a lot of white people in this country, the issues that black people had, they thought they were just black people issues. When black people were spending 20% of their income on groceries, white people thought, oh, that's a black people problem. When black people had to work 2 jobs to make ends meet, white people thought, that's unfortunate. And now that the black people's problems have reached white people have hot tears and they don't understand how it came to be this way. Now, this is one of the reasons why it's important in any country or any place to listen to those who are marginalized. Those people are kind of like a canary in the coal mine, letting you know, hey, we got some issues. You can't see it and maybe it's invisible to you, but they are on the way.
From the video, you can see how emotional this white woman is. She compares life in United States to life in China. And she says that life in the United States is too hard. Now, black people are coming out and are responding to her, telling her that those are just crocodile tears and she should dry them up. Black people are saying that it is all about white people's fault, because while black people came out and tried to warn them about racism and all that, white people never listened to them. Black people are saying that rich white people used to tell poor white people that it is all about black people's fault. And now black people are glad that white people are facing the same challenges that black people used to face. Black people are saying that white people used to think that suffering or even being poor is a black people thing. And now they are glad that even white people are suffering. Black people are saying that it is not all about race, but it is about class. That's why even the white people are suffering and they are glad about it. Now guys, I want you to tell me what you think about that down in the comment section. If you are coming across this channel for the very first time, I ask you to subscribe. To those who have already subscribed, thank you so much. And do as usual, make sure you like, comment and share this video. Until my next video, for now, goodbye.